Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Hard Nine podcast. Today is October 22nd in our Lord's year 2024. We are approaching 9 days till Halloween. I know that there's a lot of people out there who really want to hear more about that, so we'll talk about that later. However, on the Cardinals front and on baseball front, we got news, to quote Caleb Noble.
When have I ever said that?
Well, that was your exact text to me. We have news.
Did I?
Yeah.
I think I slept 5 hours last night. I don't know. Yeah, so I guess they were waiting until the slow, like since game 6 and game 7 didn't happen in the ALCS and there wasn't a game 7 in the NLCS, they have kind of like a 4 or 5 day window here to release news without interfering with postseason games because we know that MLB for some reason thinks that the Cardinals announcing a director of player development will take away from the postseason hype, which is funny to me. But yeah, I don't know. Where do you want to start? I mean, I guess we could start with the biggest one, which is Heimblum's first hiring.
Does seem like maybe we should go ahead and hierarchy it that way as Caleb turns around to try to watch the Blues game. We won't talk about the Blues though. We don't want to do that. So anyway, let's get with the highest of the high. Robert Cerfolio.
Nailed it. You had it right the first time.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
That will second guess myself.
I think we can all be honest and say we know nothing about him personally. Here's what I like. And one, I like that Heimblum made the hire. We said this before. If anyone's going to know the right guys to put in place for a role like this, it's Heimblum because he did a great job in Tampa. We know he wrote the book about the Rays way. And then he went to Boston and created a great farm system there. So he obviously knows what it takes to put guys in positions to succeed with player development. If you're going to go to player development, I think there's 3 teams that you would like to poach guys from. I think it's the Rays, I think it's the Guardians, and I think it's the Orioles. Those are the 3 teams I'd be looking at right now. And the Guardians do a great job with what the Cardinals suck at, which is developing pitching. So it's a win. Like, is he going to do a great job? I don't know. We'll see. But as of right now, I don't know why you wouldn't be excited about getting one of the smartest people from one of the smartest organizations.
Agreed. I would throw in the Mariners into that list that you just created because of how well they have drafted and developed. This is great podcasting with you looking over your shoulder every 20 seconds. Here we go. Cannot wait for the YouTube comments on this one, by the way.
If they tie it, we're going to have a great reaction.
Right. But I do think I would throw them in there. But yes, when you see the Guardians and the guy from there, I think that is absolutely a win for the Cardinals as of now. As of just right off the bat, we have no clue. I love when people who are mad about this or whatever just always makes me giggle a little bit when we honestly have no clue. All we can hope is, as he comes as assistant GM, is that he's going to do a good job of building up the farm system and drafting and development at the minor league levels is what this organization strongly needs right now.
I agree. And do you think people are mad that he's from Yale? Because he's a nerd.
I mean, people are mad because
did Heim go to Yale too? I think he did.
He probably did. Did Mo go? Mo didn't go to
He
Yale.
Did. Okay. No, Mo didn't go to an Ivy League school. So we have 2 Yale people in our front office. I'll take it.
Yeah. Well,
here's the smartest people possible.
People get mad for 2 reasons. One, because this guy's not a former Hall of Fame baseball player, so they think that this guy can't know anything about baseball. And 2, they've never heard of him. So if they haven't heard of him, then he can't be worth anything because they are obviously smarter than everyone else in the universe. So that's usually why people get mad.
I think if we're being fair, all reactions I've seen online to this specific hire have been overwhelmingly positive or optimistic, I should say. And the reality is none of us know what he's going to do. But I think putting your best foot forward is bring somebody in who's done it for a long time. I think they've said he was in the Guardians organization for 5 years. He's 30 years old, so he's young. I think it's great. Look at all the studs that have come through Cleveland, like Gavin Williams and even guys that didn't really pan out. Like, was it Daniel Espinoso? I think, is that how you say his name?
Yes, correct.
I might have butchered that. That might not be right. But there's been a lot of guys that have come through, the Shane Bieber, guys like that. So
wait, are you talking about Danny Salazar?
No, that was a long time ago. No, I'm not talking about Danny Salazar.
Okay. He was on your fantasy team most every year, if I remember right.
I definitely Daniel Espino. Gosh,
there it is. Espino. Yeah, you were close. You were close.
Either way, they've developed a lot of really promising guys. And the good thing about a team like Cleveland, similar to the Cardinals, other than last year, and we'll see where they end up this year, they draft the majority of the time in the middle of the draft, and they still
Right.
produce really quality big league talent. And I think going forward, we expect the Cardinals to probably still be in that 15 to 20 range most years, up to 25 sometimes if they're good. And you have a guy that's been able to develop talent from that pool. So, like, I think the Orioles are kind of overrated maybe with their farm system because they got so many studs in the top 5 picks. They were like, obviously, you're taking Adley Rutschman and Grayson Rodriguez. This is a guy who's done well with guys that weren't obvious picks and have turned into really good players.
Well, and then that leads us to one of the other moves where they put Willie, sort of reassigned Willie, to over essentially more of the minor leagues, which is what we've been calling for here with a lot of these guys. I'm also intrigued to see how this guy does develop the minor league. Quit looking over your shoulder, bro.
They just missed a wide open net with 30 seconds left.
Okay, game over. They lost. Blues. We're not
Not
going
over.
into Blues. Don't worry, folks. No Blues, no Saints talk. We will talk about the Pelicans later because I know you're dying to hear this. However, I do think it will be interesting to see him and the people he puts into place into that minor league system.
Yeah, I agree. I wonder if, and they lost, by the way, so I won't look anymore.
Thank
Yeah. I'm interested to see if they're going to hire more people, like if he's going to put more scouts into place. We've been talking about how the Cardinals are severely understaffed at the minor league system. Bringing in a director of player development to fill Gary LaRock's spot isn't changing that. So if we don't get any more news on, 5, 6, 7, 8 more hires of guys that are going to be in the minor league system, I don't think that's enough. Like getting a new guy in there is not enough if the people that are actually in charge of hands-on training these players are understaffed. So they've got to do that. Has to be the next step is to, if I see a bunch of people being hired from other smart organizations or from smart colleges or whatever that are coming in to
Mark
help a guy like
Colleges.
Jordan Walker. Yeah, give me guys from Yale. I don't know. Like
Agreed.
um guys like Jordan Walker that go down to minor leagues, maybe get him a coach down there that helps him until so he's not just down there learning by himself. That would be a good idea.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, myself included, when we saw that they were replacing Willie on the bench there, thought that maybe he was done. Maybe he was just going to say, I'm like you. I think you also said I'm too old for this shit. Danny Glover quote, right? Maybe he was just gonna go. I'm not dealing with this rebuild, but it does not appear that way. And I'm really happy that Willie is still in the system. I think that's a win-win for the St. Louis Cardinals organization.
I agree. Yeah, he's a special assistant. They said he's going to go to minor league sites, so maybe he becomes that roaming outfield instructor. I would guess. I don't know Willie, obviously. I would imagine 162 game grind, continuing to do that at his age, probably played a factor into why he stepped down. So I don't know how willing he is to go and be that everyday guy in the minor leagues. That's an even. I'm not gonna say a tougher job, but it is a lot of travel, probably by bus to Memphis and Springfield and all that stuff. So we'll see. They still need to hire more people to help Willie. He's older. While we're on Willie, now that he is no longer wearing number 51, I'm going to make the proclamation that he needs to be the first player that's not in the actual Baseball Hall of Fame that gets his number retired and he's up on the left field wall.
We agree. Yeah, I mean, retire 51 has been a moniker that's been loud in this city for years, and I would agree. And I think that would go a long way for Cardinal fans. And if that happens, I will be back up there the day that they dedicate that, if that does go down.
I just really think it would be a shame if they just one if they never do it. I think that's really a shame. But two, if they wait to do it for 25 years, and knock on wood, Willie's still in a great condition, still able to enjoy that moment. But we know he's older. Let him enjoy that moment. He deserves it. Like he put in all this time coaching. He's one of the best Cardinal players ever. By far, in my opinion, the most popular and famous player that's not in the Hall of Fame for the Cardinals ever. Like he is up there with Yadi and Albert in terms of Cardinals history and how popular he is in St. Louis. And he's obviously not going to be in the Hall of Fame like those guys, but he deserves it. And I saw a lot of people when I tweeted that out that say, well, not until number 27 is retired because Scott Rowland's in the Hall of Fame representing the Cardinals. That's ridiculous that that's not retired yet. I don't know what that's about. But just because one thing isn't right doesn't mean the other thing can't be made right.
Agreed. Yeah, yeah. We don't need to play whataboutisms. Like, there's no doubt about it.
Put them both on the
Yeah,
wall. They both deserve
we
it.
agree. Yeah, I don't understand the Roland thing. Like, I haven't really looked into that. I don't know if that's something maybe they're planning for 2025. I just don't know. I don't know that answer.
I don't get it. I mean, he's in the Hall of Fame as a Cardinal. He's won a World Series here. Um, and also like Willie McGee, just how many players on the Cardinals have won a World Series and an MVP and aren't at that on the wall? Like it's just him and Keith Hernandez.
That I could come up with that I could
I
come
would
up with.
imagine
Yes.
that's it. Like guys, Rogers Hornsby's on our wall. I understand he was a great
Right.
player, but let's put Willie McGee on the wall.
Yeah, we agree. We agree. And hopefully maybe Ozzy can get that goal because in your range, nobody says Yachty without Albert and vice versa. For my group, nobody says Ozzy without Willie and vice versa. And so you will never get an argument out of that for me. With
And
that
go to
being
Bush Stadium. Sorry, last thing. Go to Bush Stadium. Ozzie Smith, obviously Hall of Famer, great player, deserves to be on the wall as well. You'll see 10 times more Willie McGee jerseys and Ozzie Smith jerseys at the stadium.
yes, and just listen to the ovation every time that they even just say his name or pan to him in the dugout.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
There's no doubt.
you can't talk about Cardinal history without him. Like he should go on the wall. Also put Kurt Flood on the wall and in the Hall
Yeah.
of Fame.
Fled the hall, no doubt about it. Okay, we also have a new hitting coach. Here you go. I want you to now break down for the next 14 minutes Brant Brown's hitting philosophy so that everyone who is mad that we hired Brant Brown because they also don't evidently know much about him will be maybe a little bit better with this hire.
Well, I have no idea. How about that? I don't know.
Agreed. No one does.
I know Mo said he's a mix between Jeff Albert and Turner Ward, which basically just means he knows analytics and he's also an old timey coach. Um, to me, that quote made me angry because I'm like, well, you had a guy that was that far from Jeff Albert and Turner Ward as your hitting coach, and you thought that was a good idea. Um, I don't know. It is a little strange, and to people's like to give people a break who are really mad about it, you're hiring someone who previously worked at maybe the two most inept hitting organizations in baseball, and Marlins and the Mariners, and he got fired from both.
He
So
did
there
also,
is
to
a
be fair, he
point
did also
there.
work with the Dodgers.
He did, and he got fired from there as well.
Well, I think hitting coaches like I mean, we were talking not too long ago that potentially what's his name, Kevin Long in Philadelphia was on the hot seat. I think that's just
Yeah,
what happens.
it's
I
they're
think again,
scapegoats.
yeah, I think again, all you can do as a hitting coach at this level, especially if analytic, is give the guys every tool you can give them. That's what we need to see. Load it up on their iPads, do it that way. That's his best asset, and then hopefully be able to really work with the young guys at some adjustments when needed. That's the one thing I think. And I'm not going to go on the record. I still believe that hitting coaches get way too much credit and or get way too much blame and zero credit. So
You're right.
I don't care. The team just needs to
Majority of the
hit.
time, I agree with you. Yeah. Also on the Brant Brown hiring, I really don't have much for you. Like, I'd love to hear him. I hope hopefully he gets an interview or two here and he explains more about his philosophy. And even then, it's like players still have to execute that philosophy. Um, get him more help. Hire a couple more people in the dugout on the hitting staff to help him. That will set him up for success. Like Brandon Allen's great, awesome. I'm glad he's back. Hire three more people, like as many people as you can have in that dugout, because I know there's a limit now in baseball. Hire that many people and have them in the dugout to help him because he
Yeah,
can't be doing it by himself with all these young guys. That's a
I
tough task.
I did see he got a ringing endorsement from Skip Schumacher, so that should make people happy out there.
Okay, that's a good transition. So good journalism, like you say to me.
Thank you.
So John Jay, we didn't mention him. He's replacing Willie McGee. And Brant Brown coming from Miami as well. So basically, he had like 6 months with the Mariners and got fired. So they've now hired two people from Miami. There's only two jobs available, managerial jobs, right? In baseball right now that we know of. Like obviously after the postseason, Aaron Boone or Dave Roberts could be fired. I think that would be stupid either way, but something like that could end up happening because New York fired Joe Girardi when they were a game away from the World
I don't
Series.
see either of those happening, by the
I don't
way.
either, but I'm just saying after the postseason, some postseason team's manager could get fired or retire or whatever. Um, the two jobs are the one that Skip just left, the Marlins, and also the Chicago White Sox, which I don't know why any manager would be leaping at that job regardless. Is there a chance Skip Schumacher's back in the dugout for the Cardinals in some role next year?
What would that capacity be
I don't know.
with the Scalzo
Maybe it's
still as the
just
bench coach?
maybe he's not.
Maybe not. I mean, I would think that would be some. I don't know, man. I don't know that
Prediction.
answer.
Prediction time. Daniel Descalso becomes the new White Sox manager, and Skip Schumacher takes back his role as bench coach.
Interesting. I've heard Stubby Clapp potentially in Chicago, and I don't know if that is an
I would
actual
love
real
that for
thing
him. That'd be
or
awesome.
not.
I hope he gets
Um,
that.
I think the way I would view the White Sox job and the way I would view now, Reinsdorf did say maybe he's going to sell it. I think if you're a White Sox fan,
He's not gonna sell.
that's what you need to hear. I won't believe that until I see
Yeah, he's
that.
not gonna sell.
However, he that has been floated out there. I do think if you're the White Sox organization, you're hiring a first time. Like you're not going to go out and hire no established guy. In my opinion, is going to want that job. You're going to hire
No.
somebody who's probably never managed before.
Like
Um,
Pedro Grifol.
well, that's the problem. That
I
is
don't
the
know.
issue.
Is TLR available again?
Who else? Joe Madden? Like that's the funny thing. Everybody keeps yelling Joe Madden. It's like, have you seen Joe Madden? That man is living his life. He does. I don't think that guy has any interest in coming back to
No,
coach.
he does.
Also,
No
let's
one has
move on.
interest.
Let's
No
move
one. He
on
has
from it.
interest in managing. No one has interest in him
That's
managing.
okay. Okay.
Joe
Well,
Madden, great manager for his time, but he said some things about analytics that teams are not going to take too kindly to, rightfully
correct.
so. And I know I just said a buzzword that are going to get a lot of people angry. Analytics, which I've said time and time again, exit velocity is just what people used to say when Babe Ruth would hit, and they'd be like, "Oh my gosh, the sound of the bat, the sound of the bat.
Why
You see
did
that ball fly?" Because that's how they
why did you
sounded in
go?
the
Hold on. Why did you go
20s.
to a Southern accent when Babe Ruth is from the Eastern Seaboard
Because I don't. That's how they all
and
sounded
played
back
out
then. It
east?
just
Did not
is.
play in the South.
That's how they sounded. I don't know what to tell you. That's how they all
They did
sounded.
not. That's not how Bob Briggs sounded.
They all sounded like that. Either way, they'd be like, it was like, oh, it just sounds different off his bat. That just means he's hitting the ball 110 miles per hour. We just have numbers now because
Correct.
we've advanced as a society. Get with it, people, please.
We yes, we agree. Now, are there times when it's too much? Yes. You need to have a feel
No,
for the game.
there's
Yeah, there
not.
are.
There's
There's
okay. There's a
times.
time. How about this? There's a time when the usage of it can become too much, but
That's
there's
what I
never a
just said.
time. But there's not. But what I would thought you were saying. I don't think there's ever a time where you can get too much information. You've just got to parse through it and use it the way that it needs to be used.
We agree. What I was saying is I think sometimes it's used in place of common sense or the feel of the game. And I don't love that.
The problem that I tend to have with managers when stuff like that happens, and this is the problem Dave Roberts ran into the last couple of years, where it was predetermined scripts in the game that
Yes.
that would determine. That's not analytics. That's just a team planning things out. When baseball is more than just let's get this ball to Alex Vesia in the third inning because we think before the game that might be our best option, but you might have a starter that's going really well through too.
Very much like those books you used to read when you were a kid, where it would be like, if you believe, skip to page 43. Or if this happens, skip to page 78. That's how I feel sometimes baseball managers manage. And that's not how you manage, in my opinion, baseball at any level.
And I think as a sport, we've kind of drawn away from that because like the Blake Snell game, that's the most pressing example we've ever seen, where they took Blake Snell out when he was dealing and they ended up losing the World Series. And then obviously the game last year with the Blue Jays where they took out Barrios and brought in Kikuchi, and the Kikuchi got lit up when Barrios was shoving against his former team. I think we've seen enough examples of that going horribly wrong that teams have started to stray away from it. Like they're letting people go deeper into games. And also as a sport, thankfully, people are starting to realize the value of innings. Bullpens can't throw 7 innings a game, no matter
Yeah.
if you're in the postseason or not.
We've talked also, by the way, I didn't really say anything about it. I'm pumped John Jay's back in the organization. I know that I have been vocal about saying let's move on from former Cardinals. I have been, so I'm going to be a little hypocritical
Mhm.
here. But I've always been a fan as far as John Jay the human. Like I just feel like
I love John Jay.
think he knows what he's doing. And I think he never got as much love maybe here at times as he deserved looking back. So I'm glad, I'm happy for him that it feels like this is where he's wanted to come back to for a while, and I'm glad he's getting that opportunity. So I am being
Yeah, and
hypocritical, but I'm also happy for him.
I don't think you are being hypocritical because there's a difference between an outfield instructor, and John Jay is one of the best defensive outfielders I've ever seen for the Cardinals. There's a difference between an outfield instructor and a guy taking on a prominent role like hitting coach or manager or bench coach, where it seemed like or even bringing back players like everyone that was brought back in the offseason. That's different to me than bringing back a guy to be the outfield coach, right? Like you shouldn't limit yourself to, oh, bench coaches or have to be Cardinals or hitting coaches have to be Matt Holliday or Jim Edmonds. But if it's a outfield coach like John Jay, I'm sure can coach the hell out of some outfield. So I'm okay with that. I think there's difference in like prominence of roles.
Coach the hell out of some outfield. Let's hope that he can.
He's gonna turn Jordan Walker into a Gold Glover. Just wait.
All right.
Oh, by the way, when is
How many
Alan
high
Craig
noons
getting
have we had
hired?
today?
None. When is Alan? Unfortunately, none. I've had a long day. When is Alan Craig gonna get hired as the runners and scoring position specialist
I
for
don't
the
know that
team?
that will happen. I
It
don't know that
should.
that will
If there's
happen.
one guy I want back to teach somebody to hit with runners and scoring position, it's that guy.
To transfer on from the coaching moves, which again, all we'll have to be able to assess these in the next 2 to 5 years because right now it does not
Who
matter.
knows? Yeah.
Like I'm not does not matter. You know what I mean? Like we don't know. But to transfer on Pearl John Denton today, the Mo said that he has had conversations with some of the vets. We can fill in the blank very easily who those are. There's only a few of them left on the 26-man roster, so we can figure out who that is and let them know that hey, we are going with the youth movement. We talked about it last time. Got a couple people. I think sometimes people leave comments before they listen to the entire thing. Don't you?
Mhm.
I think that happens, which we
It's how
appreciate.
I
Keep them coming.
honestly,
I
I think
love it actually.
it's how I phrase the titles. People like to answer the question before
Yeah, I
watching,
think
which
so.
is fine. Go ahead and do
No,
that. I don't mind that.
agreed. I can you can just kind of tell because it's like then you'll say like, oh well, we got to that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I appreciate that. By the way, keep those coming. While you're there, hit that subscribe button. We greatly appreciate all of you. We really truly do. No matter what Caleb might say, but we really truly do.
I
Either
haven't
way,
said anything, to be fair.
either way, um, I'm intrigued to see what becomes of this, and I feel like if you're the Cardinals and you're willing to do this, you're going to probably have to eat some of their salary. I would assume with
Not
honestly all three
everyone's.
people, but I
Well,
mean, I
I mean,
think
I think
so.
they should if it's gonna make their return bigger. Like I
Correct.
think eat like honestly eat half of Sonny Gray's money if it's gonna get you a star, like a rising prospect that's great, you know? Like why would you not? Like who cares how much money you're spending over the next 2 years? I mean, I guess DeWitt would, but I just think that makes a lot of sense. If you're not planning on spending in free agency anyway, then eat some of it. Like why would you not if it's gonna help you and if you're DeWitt, the way you sell it to DeWitt is okay, you might be spending $20 million up front on a player that's not here. But if you want to get people back in the seats, you want to get the best players available to allow that to happen. So you'll be making more running money in the long run if you actually get better prospects. But I wanted to say Mo's exact quote, if you'll allow me,
Please.
because I thought it was a little bit revealing. He said, ultimately, the direction that we're going to be going, it's going to be creating some opportunities for our young players. And I had conversations with them, and we'll see where that goes. It sounds to me like it didn't go, yeah, I want to stay.
I was going to ask you as you say that, so this I can get you can further expand on this. What I would almost be surprised if any of them would say yes, I want to stay around for that. You never know. Someone's like if they built a family here and they just want to stay in this
Right.
area. You never know family situations. There's a whole lot of things to go into picking up your family and moving away and whatever. Like it's easy
Yeah.
for a guy who I think is probably single to say, yeah, I want to go here. But for when there's family involved and all kinds of friendships and everything else, so you can't say for 100% for anybody. I would never try to do that for anyone.
Yeah.
However, it does feel like with those three, as they start to enter what you would call the twilight of their careers, not a one of them have a ring. No, that's wrong. Wilson does.
Wilson does.
Wilson
Yeah,
does. My
Wilson does.
apologies. Wilson does. The other two do not. Just feels like if you're them, you were kind of sold a bill of goods potentially. I mean, maybe not Nolan, but the other two. And it just kind of feels like,
Um,
yeah, let's go ahead and let's move on from St. Louis Cardinals.
yeah, I mean, and I want to, I think we've had this conversation 3 times now.
I'm going to keep having it, I guess, until they leave.
Yeah, until they're traded. Yeah. Yeah, I think they all should probably, if they all want to go, trade them all. Like that's doing
Yeah.
right by them. It sucks. I think Sonny and Wilson going, we said this last time, that sucks more to me than Arenado going because we saw Arenado in the postseason. It just didn't work. Like, unfortunate as that is, it just did not work. Watching postseason baseball every year, you see Corey Seager last year and what he did. You see Jordan Alvarez and what he does every year. Jose Altuve, and this year, obviously, Aaron Judge, Juan Soto, and I know Judge struggled for a bit, but he had some massive homers. And then Soto and I'm not Soto, Betts and Otani and Tommy Edman in
Tommy
LA.
Edman.
But you see those guys, you have to have stars that step up to the moment. And as great as Nolan Arenado is, and we'll keep saying it, he's an amazing player and he's done a lot of great things in this game. He just has not been one of those guys that steps up to the moment here. And I don't know why moving forward as he's declining and clearly becoming, I don't want to say a shell of his former self, but just a lessened version of what he used to be. I don't see how that will turn around here in the next couple
Yeah.
of years.
What do you think they do at third base if no one's gone? Do you think it's Thomas to
Gorman.
JC time? Do you think they move Gorman to third? What do you think they do there?
I think it's Gorman because you allow Brendan Donovan to play second base every day, and you allow Victor Scott, Lars Nootbaar, and Jordan Walker to be your outfield every day. The one person that's tricky, and you named him Thomas DeJacy, is what becomes of him. Like, is he just going to be? Because it's tough to be like, well, maybe he'll just hit against lefties. One, that's hurting his development as a player, but also I don't know if I want Nolan Gorman or Donovan or Nootbaar, sorry, in a year where they're trying to find out what they have. I don't want those guys being platoon bats either. So it does get difficult. As crazy as it sounds, you can trade Arenado, you can trade Contreras, and even you can let other guys go. Goldie's going to be gone, but it still feels like they don't have enough spots for the amount of people they have.
Is it fair to say
What
you
is
could use the
happening in my car?
JC to start 3 days a week to give Wynn a day off, Donovan a day off, whatever, however you wanted to platoon? I mean, I know that those situations get tricky, or would you rather see him playing every day down at AAA if you're a Cardinals fan? Put that hat back on.
I think the reality of the situation is we do this every year. Where last year we were talking about Alec Burleson not even making the roster because they signed Matt Carpenter, and injuries and other things take care of it, right? So I don't know if you necessarily have to worry about that right now, because I think what are the odds of Nootbaar, Donovan, Gorman, Walker, all these guys always being healthy at the same time? It's unlikely.
Very
It's not going.
slim.
It's not going to happen, especially with some of those guys we know they've had injury problems, especially Nootbaar and Gorman. So I wouldn't worry about creating a spot for him now, but I do think he's probably on the team for me opening day, even if that means for the first 3 weeks, let's say everybody's healthy, that he's only playing 3 days a week.
Yeah, and I also think that he then becomes your backup shortstop.
Yeah, he'll be your back. He'll be
Right.
your backup shortstop, your backup second baseman, your backup third baseman, and I'd tell him to get an outfield glove.
Yeah, but yeah, well, as athletic as he appears to be, one thing I will
Yeah,
say, and I'd like to, we'll dig on this as we get deeper into the off season and everything else. I really do hope they give Luke and Baker a shot to get big time at bats at the major league level. I think he's earned them. I think he deserves them. I think setting him down to AAA would be an absolute comedy of errors if they did that again.
yeah. Do you think when you say that, do you mean everyday role or platoon with Burleson?
I think platoon with Burley. I think that's what I would like
But
to see.
I agree with you that like that makes sense for both those players. I kind of want to see what Burleson can do against lefties. Like I know he had a rough year last year against them, but he does not strike me as a hitter, and he wasn't in the minor leagues that can't handle left-handed pitching because he has really good contact rates against every pitch you'll throw at him. So I kind of want to see what Burleson can do in a
Well,
full-time
I,
role.
I think to be fair, then, and that if that's something you're looking for, and if that's something the organization is looking for, I think Lucan could get plenty of at bats with the DH role as well. Even if you wanted to have Burley
Right.
and Baker, because if Wilson's gone and Nolan's gone, Goldie's gone. I mean, you
Hmm.
have the opportunity. Please don't put Michael Ciani or a second catcher at the DH next year. Let's not do that.
Oh, Herrera will be at the DH when Pajas
Oh,
is catching. I bet your dollar.
crap,
But
bro.
that honestly, like I didn't even think about that for the Sajay too. Like those guys can
Correct.
get DH spots.
Yes.
I still sometimes forget the DH in the National League.
Yeah, I would like to like I can give you the 13 that I want to see right now. Like if the trades are made, like I could
Go
tell
ahead.
you the guys I want to see on there. But, you know,
Go ahead. Give me them.
give me the two young guys behind the plate, Pajes and Herrera. All right.
Reverse those, but yes.
Well, I was only simply listing them.
No, I don't want to ever hear Pajas' name first again.
Give me Burley and give me Baker. Okay. Then give me Donnie, Gorman, Sajasi, and Wynn. So it's at 8, right? At least 5
Mhm.
players. We know the 4 in the outfield: Newt, Walker, Ciani, and Scott.
Mhm.
I lied. I guess maybe I could not come up with the 13th because I don't know that guy is on your 40-man roster right now.
Yeah, that might be a spot where you go get maybe you go get another young guy. I don't know. Maybe in a trade, maybe it's Colby Mayo, please.
Oh my god! If you are you trying? Is this
I'm
the
speaking into
Beetlejuice factor?
existence.
Say it as many times as you think, as you can, and then
Okay.
it'll happen.
It's never going to happen, but I'd be so happy. God, that'd be so
Yeah.
great.
So that would be my
We'll get
12. Let me
Ryan
say that. I
Mountcastle
lied.
for no reason.
Yeah, well, that would be great too, but
No, it wouldn't.
it
That'd be
just doesn't
awful.
seem
He's
to
like
make
3 years
sense.
of control left, and
Yeah.
I know if that happens, I might legitimately jump off my
Yeah, it doesn't
balcony.
seem. I like Ryan Mountcastle. It just doesn't seem to make
He's
sense.
a
That
fine player.
yeah,
Yeah. It's just I
but
like a lot of I like Nolan Arenado.
I do feel like that maybe that other guy is not on the 26th man, and maybe he is, and I don't know. Maybe it's a Prieto. I don't know.
Yeah, right. Like, yeah, we haven't talked about him. Probably needs to get a chance at some point,
Right.
or
Yeah.
trade him. Like, I do want to see them, and I know you have to have depth in the minor leagues. I get that, but I do want to see them kind of maybe this is the offseason to make some decisions.
Yeah.
I know a lot of it is them kind of not wanting to make decisions because I don't think anyone has stood out besides maybe Mason Wynn and Gorman and Donovan, and even Gorman now. But Mason Wynn and Donovan and Burleson maybe are the three that have stood out, and you said for sure those guys are a part of the future. And
Walker.
yeah, but he hasn't even. I just didn't want to include him because he hasn't performed like those other three. But
Okay.
yeah, he obviously is a part of the future. I think they just need someone like Lars Newpart needs to either be really good or be gone after next year. Like
Yes.
it's come to that point. Gorman same way. Like these guys either have to be locked in, they're definitely parts of the future, or it's time to find somebody who is.
Yeah.
And I love both those guys. I don't want to see. I hope they both end up doing it, but
So
they
do
have to do
I.
it.
100%. All right. Anything else from the Cardinals that you want to hit on before we get to the World Series and get out of here?
Um, I don't think so. I has your Does your opinion of the off has it your opinion of the off season changed it? I mean, your outlook for 2025 changed it all since we talked a couple weeks ago about how we felt about it.
No.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I am excited kind of about the future just because it's different, but different isn't always good, so we'll see.
But I can't tell you I would be geeked up if 12 of those guys that I just listed, if not 13 with Prieto, were the opening day offensive roster. I can tell. Let me also say this. I do not want to see Wilson Contreras, Sonny Gray, and Nolan Arenado leave. I think it's time for Nolan. We've talked about that. We don't need to rehash that. I don't love to see your best hitter and your best pitcher off the team. I don't love that. But I also understand, we've talked about this many, many times, from their point of view. And if that's something the organization feels needs to happen and they want to do that for their players, like they did dropping Tommy Pham to get him to where he can sign with a team, like I'm okay. I'm okay with that. Not obviously two separate situations there. But if we're moving forward with the idea that we are in a rebuild, and that means the vets are now on other rosters, that 13 that I just listed, potentially, I'm kind of excited to see what they could do.
I am too. And last thing, because we didn't talk about the pitching at all. Um, where do you stand on Fetty and Michaels?
Well, you did you really just ask where I
Not
stand on
as
Miles Michaelis?
performers, I'm saying as do they need to be off the roster, or is there value in having innings there and not making all young guys carry the entire workload of 162?
I want you to put that Midwest farmer's ass right on a John Deere with his fucking check and send him to another organization as soon as you
Okay,
can. Yes.
he's not going to another organization. Who the hell's taking him?
Someone will for number 5 starter, absolutely, if we pay
Why?
part
When you
of
can
it.
go get Kyle Gibson
I
instead.
would like to see Fetty hit back. I would. He wasn't as bad as everybody seems to think he
I don't
was.
know though. Like $7.5 million, like someone would give you something for him.
I understand that, but you also have to have some arms that can throw innings for you. And you're looking at Graceffo, you're looking at McGreevy. I think Quinn Matthews is going to be in that mix.
He
I
should be, yeah,
guess
for sure.
I mean, you got Steven. I think Steven Matz might be a little more valuable than Eric Fetty. Maybe he's not. Maybe I'm
No,
wrong.
he's not. He's not.
So one of those two guys, but you still like you can't just go in with 5 young guys and then all of a sudden be throwing guys who should be at Double A. Now you're studying their development again. I
Johan
don't love that
Oviedo.
idea.
No, here's where I think I've arrived, and I got there. I thought about this today. What I would do is I would trade everybody that has any value that's making money. I would trade them and get pieces for them. And then if you want to fill innings, I would go sign a Walker Bueller, for example. Like I looking to bounce back. Maybe not him because if he has a great World Series, he's going to go to a really good team probably. But sign guys like whoever this year's Luis Severino and Jack Flaherty are. And then you have two more guys at the deadline to get more pieces.
The
So replace
Miami
Eric Fetty
Marlins.
with right.
That's the
Replace
Miami
Eric
Marlins
Fetty.
playbook.
Get guys for Eric Fetty now, and then get somebody else that will get you guys in August.
I think that's a very good way to look at it. I could be on board with that. I see what you're saying.
Like I think that just gives you two opportunities. Like what if you get like take two shots at whoever Frankie Montas, Luis Severino, Jack Flaherty is of this year. Because all three of those guys end up getting some stuff back at the deadline. And if they don't stick, great, you can DFA them, nothing lost other than like $5 to $10 million. But if they're great and they do what those guys did and revitalize their career, who knows what you can get at the deadline for them.
Yeah. Well, Severino didn't get traded at the deadline.
Right. So yeah, he didn't, but he was also on a really good
Yeah.
team.
Yeah.
But for Flaherty should have stayed in Detroit. That was a mistake. But for Flaherty and who was the other guy I just said? Frankie Montas, they got traded for some real prospects.
Yeah. I mean, I could easily like. I'm not saying you need to keep Fetty. So if you're going to trade him, that's fine. But I just think you need to have a lot of arms that can throw. You can't just
Yeah.
rely on guys who should be developing at the minor league level. That's my
I
thing.
think the way I'm also looking at it, if Fetty and Matz have like little to no value on the market now, and they're going to give you nothing for them, then maybe you just put them in the rotation, and maybe they have a really great, a great run for the first half, and you can trade them for something.
Yeah, yes.
But if you can get like a legitimate prospect for Eric Fetty coming off of a really good year, even though his second half wasn't great with the Cardinals, and he's making $7.5 million, I think you have to probably do it.
I just have a feeling they're going to keep him at because of that $7.5 million, and that's a guy who will get innings for you out of the rotation.
Or will they
In
keep him
theory,
because of someone who just won the NLCS?
well, that's
And they don't
also
want to immediately
potentially
have
an
lost that
option too.
trade.
Yeah, shout out Tommy, by the way. We didn't talk about
Yeah, we
that,
didn't say that. I
but
love
I'm
Tommy.
so pumped for him. That's so cool. Like, and also Jack starting game one of the World Series. That's going to be it. Is it in LA? Do they start in LA?
I'm gonna look
I
at their
should have
record
looked
double
that up and I
actually.
did not. I meant to do that earlier.
Dodgers
But
were
I'm happy for
98 and 64. Yankees were 94. So yeah, it's in LA.
Yep. I thought it was. I'm pumped for Jack to get that start, but I am super pumped for Tommy, man. One home run, 11 RBIs, hitting fourth for the Dodgers in the playoffs after he got sent over there. Good for him. Good for him.
Yeah, I'm really happy for him. I don't think anyone's surprised. Well, I shouldn't say that. I'm not surprised that Tommy Edman had a really great postseason series against some left-handed pitching, right? That's not at all surprising to me. The thing that
Correct.
kind of frustrated me about it is one, I think he was really undervalued by a lot of people while he was here. And not to say he shouldn't have been traded. I think I would make the trade again, right? Like it was worthwhile when you made it. But I think he was undervalued by a lot of people here that didn't realize how good he is and how much value he brings to a team. And I think the Dodgers have won him for 4 years, which kind of begs the question. Maybe after 2022, you probably should have maybe thought about it. Um, but I'm really happy for him. The one thing that is frustrating is you see how good he can be when he's allowed to be a role player. When you have stars like Otani and Judge and not Judge, guys, I keep doing that. Otani and Betts and Freddie Freeman. When you have that
Max
and Alex
Muncy,
Hernandez, yeah, and he
Will
can just be a
Smith.
role player, and then it makes
Yes.
you think, how good could he have been for the Cardinals if Arenado and Goldie would have performed in the postseason?
Correct. That was about as logical of a statement as you could have had for Tommy Edman right there. So give me your prediction and then we'll get out of here. Dodgers and Yankees, which by the way, I think we said it a little bit last time. I know people hate both of these franchises. I think it's awesome as a baseball fan. You have East Coast versus West Coast. You got the Evil Empire versus the Dodgers, two storied franchises. You've got honestly Judge and Otani, your two MVPs. I mean, and then Betts and Soto. I just think it's awesome. You got star-studded fan bases. This is what baseball's been dreaming of for I believe like the entire season. I think the ratings are going to be through the roof nationally and internationally for this World Series.
Yeah, you know what's also great? One, that those guys are on the biggest stage because I just like seeing those stars, and they don't have to be Yankees and Dodgers stars, but just the biggest stars in the sport. I want to see them on the big stage. Both teams are incredibly flawed, I think. Like neither team is a juggernaut. I don't think the Dodgers are they going to be able to continue to ride that bullpen as much as they have? I don't know. Are Luke Weaver and Clay Holmes going to stand up and be the only guys the Yankees can rely on still? Who knows? Is Carlos Rodon going to be able to not crumble under pressure again? I don't know. But I don't think either team is this juggernaut just because their payrolls are so big. The thing that has frustrated me about the whole this is bad for baseball, this always happens, guys. Like first off, the Arizona Diamondbacks were in the World Series last year. We all saw it. Secondly, the Dodgers have made the postseason 3 times the last 40 years, I think. And it was 4 times now after this year. It was 17, 18 this year. And then before that was like 88 or something was like the last time they did. And then the Yankees haven't made it in
Hold on,
15
hold on,
years.
hold. You mean World Series?
Yeah. So I
You
said.
said postseason.
Oh, sorry, World Series. My
Okay,
bad.
okay.
They haven't made the World Series in that long. My bad. And then the Yankees haven't made it in 15 years. So they'll
Right,
sit there and say, "Well, this is baseball. It's all about money." What did you watch? What
right.
games do you watch?
And
The
the
only
Dodgers have been very good the last 6 years, 7 years, as far as
they've been
getting
great.
getting there, right? But yeah,
10 years.
like I think I pointed out onto somebody's comment. I mean, the Rays have been in the World Series twice in the last 15 years. That's more than the Mets and the Yankees zero. That's more than Mets and Yankees combined. Did say Royals, Guardians when they were the Indians, Tigers, Rays, all those teams have been in the World Series in the last 15 years.
Mhm.
Diamondbacks last year, like
You
yes,
know
I
what?
mean The Rangers,
So
like I don't know where the Rangers payroll ended up this year. I think it was probably in the top 10, I would assume.
it
But
was right around there.
for
Yeah.
years, the Rangers haven't been like a top 3 to 4 payroll.
It's also just ridiculous to me. Like the one team that we've seen that's really dominated baseball for a long stretch of time is the Houston Astros. And
Right.
even then, like their streak was streaks in the ALCS. It wasn't streaks in the World Series because they would lose every couple of years. And they weren't a team that was going out there and buying guys. They were just they had Altuve and Bregman and Jordan Alvarez and guys that they developed, Kyle Tucker. So it is frustrating that like on
Carlos
one side of our
Correa.
mouths, as baseball fans, we say, "Wow, like get in and anything can happen." It's bad for baseball that the Diamondbacks did it because now your organization isn't going to spend money. And then the next time you say, well, these teams spending money are making it. That's bad for baseball. It's like baseball has the most parity of any sport in the world in terms of how postseasons go.
I
It
also
wasn't great
think
for basketball when it was LeBron versus Steph every single year. That sucked. But that's not what
right.
this is. It's not a
And I
Judge
also
versus
say I
Otani
think it's
every year.
hilarious that there are Cardinal fans out there who have been screaming at the DeWitts to spend more money, and then now we're also mad that the Yankees and the Dodgers, who spend a lot of money, are in the World Series.
It's jealousy, and that's okay. It's okay to be
Yeah,
jealous of
envy.
well-run
Envy's fine.
organizations. Like I am too. I'm jealous of Dodgers fans. I remember I wanted to kind of punch a little kid because he was like 8 years old and had an Otani and a Yamamoto jersey at his probably first ever spring training game and has zero clue how good he has it. That he just got those two guys in the offseason. But that's not how baseball it does. It just doesn't work that way. I would bet all the money in my wallet that these two teams probably aren't in the World Series next year. That's just how it
Well,
goes.
how much do you actually have in your wallet?
I actually have $0 in my wallet, so
That's what
I'm
I
not betting
figured.
anything.
That is what I figured, by the way. All right. Anything you need to talk about on the
We didn't give
Saints,
our predictions.
Halloween? Oh yeah, that's right.
I'm gonna go Dodgers in 7.
Okay, that's no lie. That's where I was going as well. So,
I always say 7 because that's what we've talked about this a lot. That's what I hope for.
yep.
And realistically, they'll probably go 6 because it seems to always go 6. But I think the Dodgers are just a little bit better at everything
Have
besides the rotation.
two people who become very good friends of ours down here who are massive Dodgers fans. So it's hard for me not to be in their corner with them right now. Also, I do believe I don't know who the Yankees, unless they played the Cubs, I don't know what would get me to root for the Yankees. And that's not because they spend a lot of money. It's just because I've never been a Yankees fan.
I don't think
I
I'm
don't
rooting
hate the
against the
Dodgers.
Yankees.
I hated the Dodgers when we played them. Do you know
I
what I
get it though
but
because we beat them every time.
I know, but I'm saying like they were our foe, so I did not like them. I've just never been I don't like the Mets. I don't like the Dodgers. I don't like the Cubs. I mean the Yankees or the Cubs. Outside of that, all the other teams are really sort of whatever.
Yeah, I won't ever root for the Yankees, and I don't think I'll ever honestly like really pull for the Dodgers too much. I'm not rooting against either team. Like I think it would be cool to watch Aaron Judge win a ring. He's a great player, and I kind of want that stench off his legacy of being the only Yankee great that doesn't have a World Series ring. Um, and other than Don Mattingly, he'd be the other one, obviously. But I think Aaron Judge is obviously another tier of great than Don Mattingly was.
Jeez.
Um,
Okay.
is he not? Is he not?
No, he is. Don Manley
One of
would have
them's
been a
going to be
Hall
in
of
the
Famer if
Hall.
it weren't for the injuries.
That man
I
was a great
believe.
player, but he
Yeah.
wasn't Barry Bonds minus steroids like Aaron Judge
Right.
is.
Right.
And Otani winning a ring would be awesome too, as along with Tommy Edman and Jack Flaherty. So I just want to be entertained. I hope the games are close. The NLCS was a great matchup, but every game was a blowout, and I don't want that.
It won't be. Former Cards are going to win a ring. That's what we know.
Luke Weaver, dude,
I know.
Luke Weaver winning a ring in the year that Paul Goldschmidt leaves the Cardinals is just hilarious.
Oh my goodness, the stars always align. The stars always
They
align.
do.
I'm
I'm
excited
so
for it. It
happy
starts
for
Friday
him.
night. I'm excited.
I'm so happy for Luke Weaver that he's found a spot, and
Same.
like he's gonna get some. I don't know what his contract status looks like. I think he only signed a 1 year minor league deal, is what he's on this year, with I'm sure some incentives in it. But I think he'll get maybe a $15 million deal, and that's great for him. So
The last thing I'll say is I am a massive Teoscar Hernandez fan, and it
he's
feels
great.
like everyone he's ever played with are bigger fans of him as a human than I am. I mean, when you talk about the guys and I mean,
Otani loves him.
there's a reason Vladdy wore a Teoscar jersey when he came back to see him. The Mariners, like they talk about Teoscar like they talk about Nelson Cruz, who I also think is a phenomenal human. Also won us a ring in 2011, so there is that. However, I will root for Teoscar Hernandez wherever he ends up, and I want to see him do well. And he had some monster moments. One not great moment when he did think the ball was over the center field wall, and it was not. But I've never seen a human run so fast from first to home as he did to make sure that he was not going to be
He
denied, and he
owes
could walk into that dugout with his head held up high.
he owes Tommy Edman multiple dinners for that double.
I think so. I think so.
Because if that was a double play, ooh,
I
that'd be
know. Yep.
and good for him. Just that game, he was 0 for 18 going into that game and got 2 hits.
Yep.
Yeah, hopefully he gets hot. That'd be nice. I honestly just want high scoring games. I know a lot of people like pitchers duels, and they're fun. Like Chris Carpenter versus Roy Halladay in Game 5 is like one of my favorite memories as a Cardinal fan of the NLDS in 2011. Or was it Roy Oswalt? It was Roy Halladay, wasn't it?
Halladay.
Halladay, okay. I love pitcher duels. I don't think either of these teams have anyone on their team that can produce a pitcher duel. Like Garrett Cole can when he's right. I'm still not convinced he's 100% right the way he's pitching. So
Yeah.
I think we're gonna see a lot of runs.
Me too. All right. Well, hopefully next time we join you, we'll have more Cards news. I don't know what that'll be.
I'll have a review of Terrifier 3 for all those who care.
Yes, cannot wait for that. Also, Pels open up tomorrow night, so cannot wait for that.
Did you see Zion and DeJounte are questionable?
Well, they're both going to play from everything I've read.
DeJounte has a personal issue, so hopefully that gets figured out. Whatever that is.
Right. I saw
and
that.
then Zion has a non-COVID related illness, which is still so. It's funny that they're still doing the non-COVID illness thing.
I know.
Also, Saints signed MVS. You want to get into that for 10 minutes?
No, don't need to do that. Don't need to do that. I do not need to read those comments again. So let's get out of here. All right, everybody. Have a fantastic weekend. Enjoy it. We will be back over the weekend at some point, I would assume, unless there's new Cardinal news before that. So everybody take care of yourself. We'll talk to you soon. Go Cards.